Hello friends and welcome back. Have you ever needed buckle straps for an armor or cosplay or other project? I'll go over the simplest possible methods so you can make your own, as well as some more advanced methods and provide some free patterns and examples to help get you started. Before we begin, allow me a moment to thank our sponsor Tandy Leather. Whether you're looking to try your hand at leather crafting or a veteran, I highly recommend taking a trip to your nearest Tandy or their website. They have recently thrown out the complicated memberships in favor of what they are calling everyday honest prices, which means simpler and better prices for everyone. Their 100-year anniversary is coming up soon, so keep an eye out for that as well. There are of course many ways to do buckle straps, and I'm going to be demonstrating some ways that work for me and that I believe will be simple for the majority of viewers. Let's start with the simplest possible configuration with minimal tools and effort needed and work our way up from there. The first thing is the leather selection. As for the thickness of leather, the range I would suggest is anywhere from 5 to 10 ounces. Anything less than that will generally be too flimsy. Anything over than that will be hard and clunky to work with. My favorite strap thickness is something medium in the 6 to 7 ounce range. If we're talking about the simplest possible buckle strap, grab some pre-dyed or latigo leather. But if you want more options for tooling or more color control, go for vegetable tanned leather. All you really need is a cutting tool, a straight edge, and something to make holes. Start by making a straight edge. I'm just using an aluminum level and a box cutter here on some scrap. You can measure over the needed width and cut again in parallel to get your strap. Down the road, if you find yourself needing straps regularly, a no-brainer investment is some form of strap cutter like this. For the strap to hold a buckle, it will need 2 rivet holes. The position of the holes are not critical, just make sure you leave enough room for the buckle itself and a rivet which will be set later. I'll approximate how much space I want and fold it over and punch through both layers. Now you'll need to add a slot in the leather so the prong can move freely. Ideally, you will use what is known as a bag punch or oblong punch to make the slot. But a quick tip if you do not own one is to fold the piece over, punch through both layers again close to the end, and slice out a small section between the holes. Not always the prettiest, but it'll get the job done. Though let me just add that it is not my intention to teach bad habits or encourage cutting corners. From the start, this video series was intended to include those who may be new to the craft and even inspire new people to the craft who do not have any tools at all, and I hope to provide a springboard to help move them forward. We're at the early foundation in this series and we'll build upon that as we go. Anyway, don't worry about it if you don't have the proper tool for every scenario. Just work with what you've got until it makes sense to expand your tool set. You'll generally want to trim the ends of the straps. You can use a strap end punch, of which there are many varieties and sizes. Or again, if you don't have the tool, you can just make the cut with shears or a blade. You can also use or make a template to ensure symmetry and consistency. For the tongue end of your strap, you can lay it alongside the buckle end of the strap. Then you can decide roughly where your ideal midpoint is on your adjustment. I'll mark a few spaces in either direction beyond that. There isn't really anything set in stone on the hole placement for straps. I just go with what I think is needed. Smaller straps may get narrow spacing, larger straps may get wider spacing. You'll need some way to attach the buckle strap to your project, and that'll usually be rivets. I usually use double cap rivets, so that's what I'll be showing here. For straps that will not have much load or strain, 1 rivet is fine, but for larger pieces or anything that'll carry a load, at least 2 rivets is advised. If your buckle is fitting on a breastplate, you'll want bigger straps with a lot of adjustment. And if you're making something like a pouch or bracers or adding tassets to a breastplate for example, you may not really need much adjustment. So how wide should your straps be? Well, for bigger components like breastplates and upper legs or large accessories, I find 1 inch to be more than enough. There have been times where I've gone wider, but it was purely a cosmetic decision. For parts like greaves and arms, 3/4 inch is plenty sufficient, and small parts like bracers, gauntlets, tassets, and various other odds and ends, 1/2 inch is fine. So now you have your basic strap function. But you didn't come here just for the basics, right? Let's look at ways we can make them a bit more interesting. The first thing you can do is bevel and add a decorative edge groove. This example is run through an embossing wheel, but the effect would be similar. You can also add some stamping or other tooling to your straps. Instead of making straight edge straps, you could hand cut the straps with a more interesting shape, although it would take much longer, at least until you reach a point where it makes sense to have clicker dies like these made. Clicker dies are basically just a really sturdy, really sharp cookie cutter. And you use them in a press and it spits out buckles, or whatever you make the die for. It's a big time saver for production work. I figure we should also touch on laser cut buckles as well, since lasers are much more accessible these days. I'm not sure how capable the modern benchtop lasers are, but these were made with an 80-watt tube, and even that can be slow. My laser has actually been out of commission for a while, so these are leftovers from previous projects. I try to do something a little different for each project. These were all designed in CorelDRAW. You'll have to let me know if there's any interest in tutorials that are digital in nature in the future. This example has various design lines and geometry, as well as 2 color dies and some copper metallic trim. This might be a little wild for some tastes, so find your own balance for whatever project you're making. The world of buckle hardware is very large, but the most common types you'll come across will be the center bar buckles like these, and heel bar buckles like these. I use both depending on the situation, but usually prefer center bar for most applications, as they are the most convenient to use. The heel bar buckles require the addition of a keeper ring or keeper strap to hold the buckle tongue in place. The choice can be a functional one, but it is often aesthetic, so go with whatever suits your preference. These are a few that I had laying around, but there are countless options beyond this. Check the description for the link to the buckle patterns. I'll probably add them as a free post on the Patreon page. If you find them helpful, consider chipping in to help support future videos like this. I've been enjoying making these videos for everyone and hope to continue doing so in the future. The next full tutorial will be ready shortly. See you then. Have you ever needed buckle straps for an armor, or a cosplay, or other project? I'll go over the simplest possible